Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Guys, we are here with another latest news. I told you guys that in this channel we bring you the latest news and gist in town. As it dey hot na so we dey bring am come your table. If you are new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like, share, comment, and also make you turn on your post notification so that anytime when we upload new video you will be the first to get the notification. Thank you so much and God bless you.
Now we go back to that live press conference organized by Equity International Initiative in collaboration with coalitions of civil society organizations on presidential election tribunals and the X-raying of Inec's readiness for the conduct of credible governorship elections in Nigeria this Saturday.
The election process in Nigeria, we have with us Barrister Friday Ilogunam, a legal practitioner with us. And now I'll be handing over the mic to our country director, Ambassador Chris Iyama.
Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Nigerian people. You'll recall that exactly 2 weeks ago, we addressed the world with respect to the conduct of the Presidential and National Assembly election. We gave our preliminary reports with respect to the elections and the way forward and what is expected of relevant stakeholders, even as we move into the 2023 gubernatorial and state of assemblies election. So it's a great pleasure and privilege for us once again to address the world with respect to some of our findings, even as we head towards the gubernatorial and National Assembly elections, and in particular, the cases before the Election Petition Tribunal, that's the Presidential Election Tribunal. So the expectations of Nigerians from the Presidential Election Tribunal and assessing Inec's preparedness for the governorship and State House of Assembly elections, in Nigeria, and of course, what is expected from the Independent National Electoral Commission, the several election petition tribunal that have been set up, and the rest of them. So, gentlemen and ladies of the press, distinguished Nigerians, I welcome you to this August press conference once again. We are gathered to address the world on expectations of Nigerians from presidential elections. Importantly, to assess the level of preparedness of the Independent National Electoral Commission for the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections scheduled to hold this Saturday, 18th of March 2023. First and foremost, we would like to thank Nigerians for heeding to our pleas and the well-meaning Nigerians to refrain from engaging in acts capable of jeopardizing national peace and security. We urge Nigerians to continue to be law-abiding and peaceful, heading into the polls. We thank Nigerian youth for not venting their displeasure over the outcome of the February 25th, 2023 Presidential and National Assembly on the streets to destroy properties as feared by international observers. The Presidential Elections Petition Tribunal has been set up and is expected to entertain grievances and dissatisfaction of political parties and their candidates who participated in the polls that are not convinced that the conduct was free, fair, and credible in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act 2022, and Inec's manual for the conduct of the 2023 general elections. Nigerians expect that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal will deal justly and equitably and must be seen to give fair hearing to all parties who have filed cases with respect to the election petition tribunals. Nigerians expect that the petition filed by parties hanging their argument on the extant provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Electoral Act 2022, and the Inec's manual for the conduct of the 2023 presidential elections will hope that it will be dealt based on their merit, and that decisions of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal will be in line with the law and the wishes and the yearnings of Nigerians. We wish to remind INEC that February 28, 2023 presidential elections fell short of the minimum standard of an election, and our position on the February 28, 2023 polls remains as follows: that the outcome of the February 25th, 2023 elections were marred by various degrees of unbelievable irregularities, that INEC failed to transmit the collated result as prescribed by the provisions of the Electoral Act 2022, the INEC regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022, and the INEC manual for elections, official requiring transmission of the results by the use of bimodal voter accreditation system (BVAS) in flagrant breach of the relevant provisions of the Electoral Act 2022 and the INEC regulation and guidelines for the conduct of the elections 2022 and the INEC manual for elections officials 2023. 3. That the result of the February 25th, 2023 polls were manually transmitted, which violates the provisions of the election of Section 25, subsection 47, subsection 2, 60, subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 4, and 5, Section 62 and 64, subsection 4, and subsection A and B, Section 70 and 148 of the Electoral Act governing the 2023 nationwide general elections, particularly paragraph 38 of the INEC regulations and guidelines for the conduct of elections 2022, and paragraphs 2A, 284, 290, and 291 of the INEC manual for election officials 2023 for the conduct of the presidential elections. That we condemn the entire process and outcome of the February 25th, 2023 because it falls short of the minimum requirements of a credible, free, and fair elections. Given the aforementioned, we wish to state categorically that the Nigerians do not expect any iota of a repeat the experience of the February 28th, 2023 polls on March 18th gubernatorial and state assembly elections. Therefore, INEC should ensure the following: that sensitive materials and INEC officials must arrive early in the day, especially across Nigeria, in order not to anger or frustrate optimistic Nigerian voters. The operations of the BVAS technology must be effective and efficient in order to meet timely accreditation of voters. 3. Voters should not be left to their fate again. The promised security of voters must be guaranteed in order to encourage them to come out again in their numbers, given the widespread threat of intimidations and violence in most states ahead of the March 18, 2023 gubernatorial and state House of Assembly elections. That polling unit results declared must be transmitted in real time, copies pasted at the polling unit according to the extant provisions of the Electoral Act 2022. That INEC and security must ensure that the report that age voting across most states, especially in northern Nigeria, during the February presidential election and the polls should not be tolerated or condoned. That ahead of the March 18th, 2023 polls, there should be increased deployment of security forces to foster the use of state-sponsored thugs, as was used in harassing, intimidating, and in some instances, kill innocent voters and the disruption of elections, as was the case in Lagos, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and some parts of Imo State and other states. 6. That we discourage and condemn any attempt to use the military to intimidate and harass voters or escort election results and not allow Nigerian police to perform their constitutional duties. We call on the military high command to act responsibly in defense of Nigeria's democracy and democratic integrity by not interfering with the electoral process. We wish to caution INEC to take precaution as there are deliberate plans by some compromised INEC officials to help correct, adjust overvoting, transferred votes scored by one political party to favor another political parties, and deliberate mutilation of result sheets. May we remind INEC at this point that these same acts were widely reported during the February presidential and National Assembly elections Hence, measures should be taken in order not to make mockery of Nigeria's electoral process in the eyes of the world. We therefore wish to state in clear terms the following. We call on the international community to immediately place visa embargo to any person or group of persons who used or is planning to use their offices to interfere, perpetuate election violence. We therefore call on the international community not to recognize and legitimize any person or persons who fraudulently rig his or her way into offices, as doing so will imply acceptance and accomplice to illegality, which may undermine the good and law-abiding citizens of Nigeria. We call for the immediate security sanctions on movement on Saturday, March 18, 2023, for Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, Akwa Ibom State Governor Emmanuel Udom, Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, to prevent them and their sponsored thugs from perpetrating crimes against humanity again. We call on the international community not to recognize such sham of an elections, as doing so might connote acceptance and accomplice to illegality during the February presidential elections and now the coming March 18, 2023 gubernatorial and state House of Assembly. We again call for the immediate resignation or removal of any Inec officials, especially from the hierarchy, who are bent on ensuring that illegality remains in place. We call on the military high command to once again ensure that Nigerians do not see unsolicited presence of military officers around different polling units and collation centers, harassing and intimidating voters. We wish to call on young people across Nigeria to come out once again in their numbers, calm and law-abiding, as we expect INEC to redeem itself by ensuring a transparent, credible, free and fair elections. We discourage unlawful and destructive activities capable of undermining peace and national security. Ladies and gentlemen, worthy of note is the fact that our country at the moment is at the precipice, and any act that will cause an implosion must be avoided at all costs. We have witnessed what we can describe as a rape of democracy in the just concluded presidential and National Assembly elections. We saw the provocations of the citizens. We saw violence against Nigerians, sponsored by evil and corrupt politicians at the last election. We also saw brazen acts of rigging and manipulations of results by INEC officials assisted by some state actors and governors. It was as though the will of Nigerians does not matter. We want to state clearly, having felt the impulse of Nigerians, particularly the youth, that our nation is at the boiling point. Ladies and gentlemen, people are just being civil with the hope that the judiciary, being the last bastion of hope for the common man, will play their role with fairness and equity. We call on the respected election tribunal judges and our highly esteemed judges of the Supreme Court of Nigeria to look at the evidences that will be provided by the aggrieved parties and give the right judgments. We encourage the judiciary also to shun every overtures from corrupt politicians by ways of financial inducement, threats, and blackmails, and do what is right for the sake of our country and posterity. They should kindly note that Nigerians, especially our young people who have been sufficiently provoked, are watching and hoping that the right thing will be done. Please don't send these young people to the streets by your actions. With respect to the following elections, we are also calling on INEC to retrace their steps, redeem their image, and follow their guidelines as INEC to follow their simple guidelines, which is number 1, accredit voters in all polling units and allow accredited voters to cast their votes in secret ballot system. Count all valid votes before the electorate and party agents announce the results in the polling units. Upload the results counted and signed by all party agents through the beavers. Inec, this is a call that you have had sufficient time to prepare and enough resources to prepare for these elections. We don't expect anything less than perfect outing by INEC. We call on INEC officials at all levels, in their own best interest to refuse all kinds of inducements from unscrupulous arms and corrupt politicians. Failure to do so, they will have Nigerians and Nigerian youths to answer to. Ladies and gentlemen, this is simply our call with respect to the ongoing Presidential Election Tribunal cases before the highly esteemed justices of the Appeal and Supreme Courts. And of course, in extension, calling on Inec to do the right thing as we move into the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections 2023. I will pause and hand over to our colleagues, and later on, if there is any question, we will entertain. Thank you, distinguished members of the press. Thank you.
Okay, just to add to the introduction of the country director, we expect that some of the complaints and challenges experienced in the presidential election, it is our expectation that those complaints, Inec would have looked at them and do the right thing in the coming election. We, on our part, has also looked at what are the expectations of Nigerians from the tribunal. We expect that the tribunal will look at this case, knowing fully well that the Nigerian youth or the Nigerian people bestowed so much confidence on Inec to do the right thing. If you notice the excitement from the point of registration, when people come out to register, if you notice the excitement, it was based on the promise that the Inec made to Nigerians that there is going to be a free and fair election. But as we've seen from so many comments, not just from Nigerians, not just from the opposition political parties, but from international observers and onlookers, you could tell that INEC's action fall below the expectations of Nigerians. So we expect that INEC is going to do the right thing in this coming election. We've also noticed that some of the steps taken by INEC in the declaration they made to the presidential election was done in flagrant disobedience to not just the Constitution, not just the Electoral Act, but by their own guideline, which they did not follow in any way or form. So we expect that in this coming election, they are going to do the right thing. One start to wonder why INEC, who by law we are given 7 days to review the result of a presidential election, could go on at the wheels of the night to announce an election that has been contested from polling units up to the National Collation Center. It begs to a question. There was no need for INEC to have made the declaration they made on that night. There was no need. INEC still have some days, or even after making that declaration, the law allows INEC to review its stand and say we make this declaration in error. This is the path that we are going to take. But we leave that to the tribunal, who we believe we do the right thing. We have so much trust in the panel who are going to be sitting in the various petitions that have been filed by the different candidates. We believe in their capacity. We believe in their Nigerians, that they've seen the effort that Nigerians has put in place. This is one of the elections that you see that almost everybody who come out to cast their vote in that election, we are expecting that INEC will do the right thing. We are calling on the tribunal to ensure that the hope of Nigerians are not dashed, that at the end of the day, the right thing is done. If at the end of the day, available, both that will be presented both by the parties, both by election observers, and the tribunal are able to that the declared winner is the winner. Convincingly, mark the word convincingly. We'll go home and we will look forward to the next election. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all that has been said here. You see, the truth of the crux of the matter is the fact that we had hope in this election. We really looked forward to a Nigeria where the votes of the average man will count. We came out in mass. You know, this is the election for the very first time where we all came out to vote. Some people got to their polling unit as at 6 a.m. and you wonder why. But Nigerians really want something different. Nigerians came out in mass. They came to vote because we want change. We want our country to literally move, progress, because we've had enough. I don't know if you have had enough, but I think I've had enough. I want a country where I can sleep and be rest assured that if I wake up tomorrow, I am safe if I'm going out. I want a country whereby I know that if I graduate, I will get a job. I want a country whereby I don't need to know anybody to become somebody. And I think that's what the average Nigerian looked out for in this election. And that's why we poured our heart out. We came out in mass to vote. And we're saying to the conscience of Inec, the electoral umpires, do the right thing. We have another time now to correct whatever it is that was wrong in the first election. We literally had 1 week to take time out to do what's right, to provide modalities that would help us to get it right this time around. And we're hoping, earnestly hoping, that INEC will do the right thing this time around. And when I say the right thing, what do I mean? I'm saying if we come out to vote, would the officials be there as at the time stipulated for them to be there? We're saying if we come out to vote, would the beavers work? We don't want to hear stories this time around. Would it work? We don't want to hear, oh, there are issues with the beavers. No. Because we're living our lives to come for this election. Because literally, this is our life. Every 4 years, we have the opportunity to vote in a new leader. And why are we doing that? We're doing that because we're casting the entirety of our being on these leaders. Progress lies on them. Our safety lies on them. And that's why we're coming out. And that's why for the very first time, I'm seeing that young people like myself and everyone here present is coming out to vote because we want to have a country that works. Nigeria has all it takes to be one of the greatest countries there is in the world. But I think the major problem we have right now is the fact that we don't have the right people in the right positions to do the right thing. And that's why we're coming out to vote again come Saturday. And I hope that INEC, you will do right by us to make sure that the process is seamless, that our votes will count. We're not just coming out to cast votes. We want you to make sure that it counts, that we see the representation of all that we've done in this result that you present to us. And I hope that INEC really does not disappoint this time around.
At the last press conference that we had 2 weeks ago, it was something of presenting our interim report because, like I said, we deployed over 2,700 observers across polling units, 774 local government coordinators, and 30 young people working at our data center, collecting data from across the country, especially from our observers. And we stated categorically some of the things we observed. We were live on TV. Immediately after that press conference, we started getting threats, calls, threatening our lives with all manner of, with so many things I cannot even mention here. But you see, the beauty of democracy is that it is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are young people and nobody can silence us. Nobody can silence us. Because at the end of the day, it's about the future of our country. We encourage Nigerians in the past 2 years, telling them to go out en masse, register so that they will vote in the election. These same young Nigerians on election day came out massively to exercise their fundamental human rights. Some young people, according to our observation pool, we found out that most young people arrived at their polling unit as early as 6:30 in the morning, waiting for some Inec officials who did not even arrive their different polling units up until 11 and 12 noon. At the end of the day, some of these people started accreditation, started accreditation, voting commenced, and some of them even ended their polling units as early as 2 o'clock, disenfranchising millions of young citizens. If we want to be fair to ourselves, 2023 presidential and national assembly general election really fell short of international best practices. Because on one hand, you cannot ask young people to come out en masse to vote and at the same time disenfranchising them, using thugs to chase them away from their respective polling units. We saw on video, live video, how a woman was, macheted. We saw the different bullies. We saw how some persons even destroyed a road constructed with taxpayers' money because they don't want some INEC officials to get to those places in order to get to the people. And the question is, can we continue to go this way? How can we continue to elect thugs into public spaces? Gubernatorial and national state house of assembly is before us. We must really examine the credibility of those we are sending into public offices. Because at the end of the day, we are going to be sustaining them with taxpayers' money. We are going to be sustaining them for the next 4 years, sometimes even the past 8 years. We have some legislators that have been in the National Assembly since 1999. You cannot even trace specific bills that they have sponsored to help their different constituencies or their different senatorial districts. And they are back again. So, what is the cost of our democracy? The problem is that for a lot of citizens, especially young people, we are not interrogating the process of governance enough. So, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can just decide to vie for public office, and he's not subjected to different scrutinies. Whether we like it or not, the 2023 presidential election and the National Assembly election, and of course, the forthcoming gubernatorial and state house of assembly election, especially the presidential election, proved the fact that young people are the owners of the states, and not the godfathers, not the politicians. The gubernatorial and the house of assembly election is around the corner. We saw how some state governors are shamelessly going from attending different parties, going to different churches. Some are even entering and going to beauty salons to plait hair of women. Some are even going to Ikeja ShopRite and some different places to canvass for vote, to beg people. The question is, where were they 4 years ago? Where were they? They said the people's vote don't matter. But the 2023 general election has proven otherwise. And so, for the fact that maybe in any way that the previous election did not go according to the will of the people, we are asking young people, Nigerians, not to be discouraged. We learned how some young people are already destroying their voters' card. Please, this country belongs to you. It belongs to us. There is no godfather anywhere that will take this country away from young Nigerians. So, wherever you are as a young person, for us, we're encouraging you. Saturday's election is just around the corner. You are going to prove again, just as you have proven 2 weeks ago, that your vote really counts, and that you matter, and that your vote will speak please come out again to exercise your fundamental human rights. You will vote. You will wait and ensure your vote counts. You will escort your vote to the different collation center so as not to be seen doctored results, altered results in different polling units. Because clearly, we saw how results were being doctored by state actors in the last presidential election and National Assembly election. They want to prove to citizens that their vote don't count. But listen, it's a lie. The vote of Nigerians count, and it will matter. To Inec officials who felt that they can be used to perpetrate this crime against humanity, we are watching you. Nigerians are watching you to do the right thing. To the Inec chairman, you have to sit up. Most observers are already calling for your resignation. And we will not be out of place also to call for your removal and for your resignation, because the election of the presidential election fell short of international standard, despite the fact that the commission invested over 305 billion naira taxpayers' money. 305 billion naira is nothing but, in some African countries, this is their country's budget for 5 years, and we used it for election that did not go anywhere. So, it's another opportunity. We're calling on Inec, security agencies, especially for the fact that they have constituted election petition tribunal, the presidential election petition tribunal, especially. The cases are before the Supreme Court, the justices at the tribunal, which anyway, if they are not satisfied, they will go to the Supreme Court. Over the years, there have been a lot of allegations that citizens' hopes are being dashed at the different court level. This is high time for us to retrace our step, to begin to trust the judiciary that it is indeed the last hope of the common man on the streets. So we are counting, we are not missing word when we say that we respect our judiciary, the appeal court justices, the Supreme Court justices, but you see, they must do the right thing. They must not dash citizens' hope. We are urging them to look at the fact of the matter, the merits of the matter. Because at the end of the day, some persons cannot bring doctored results filled with tippers and cancellation. And at the end of the day, they may want to say, based on technicalities. Technicalities has led this country to where it is at the moment. And we are calling on our learned justices to do the right thing, to shun corruption, to shun intimidation, to shun harassment, to shun blackmails. They should not give in to that, because people are watching, and posterity will judge all of us, including everyone who feels that this country belongs to their pockets. To Inec officials, once again, is a time to redeem their battered image, because we can't understand how, we invested taxpayers' money, investing 305 billion in an election, yet we cannot accept the outcome of the election because they were all filled and mad with irregularities. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, is our concern, and the concern is that INEC must do the right thing, leading to the gubernatorial election and the State House of Assembly election. Any result that they feel that it is that is being doctored, day and day, they have the opportunity when it comes to their different state collation center to immediately question the returning officers. You cannot be a professor after so many years. You will be used to rig election, not minding the destiny of over 200 million Nigerians. It is unacceptable by law. It is unacceptable by international best practices. It is totally unacceptable by young Nigerians. We cannot go to the streets to vent our angers, because the truth of the matter is, if we call on Nigerians now, we are sure of mobilizing over 10 million Nigerians across the states, across the country, to protest. But the truth is, we may not know the outcome. That's why the right thing must be done now. Because let us not get to that point where citizens will no longer be afraid of the armored tanks and the bullets. Because apparently, if the right thing is not done, we might be heading to that direction. And this is something that we don't want to experience. We saw what happened with NSAS and some other things. It is just, it's nothing but just a time bomb. We don't want this thing to consume all of us in this country. And that's why people, respected government officials, people that we trust, people that we know that ordinarily they should be able to do the right thing, should do the right thing for the interest of justice. So we will pause at this point to entertain questions from you, members of the press, and then our last person to address you would address you, and then we'll close for the day. Thank you so much.
Members of the press, are there questions you have for us today?
Just before we take the last person, with respect to the credibility of the gubernatorial and state house of assembly elections, the Equity International Initiative will right now officially launch a portal, a site, where Nigerians would report all forms of electoral malpractices in their different polling units. So whether you have videos, you have the polling unit results that will be signed by party agents and the Inec officials there, you are going to send those details to iactnow.org. Can we have it on the screen? iactnow.org. iactnow.org is a website where you are expected to file in videos, pictures, report all forms of election malpractices, ballot box snatching, ballot box stuffing, non-compliance with respect to the extant laws, at the polling unit by Inec officials. When you see that thing, please kindly send us photos and videos to that portal, iactnow.org, because this is going to be what we're going to be using to really fact-check Inec and to present as evidences before Nigerians and the court of law, leading to the gubernatorial election. So once again, iactnow.org. iactnow.org is the site where you would report every form of malpractices, stealing of ballot boxes, intimidation of voters by security agencies, and the rest of them. Please, if you see something, say something by reporting it to that website. Thank you so much. So we have Barrister Ike Ayalawichi, who will join us now to address the world with respect to the forthcoming governorship and state assembly election, and what is expected of the presidential election tribunal. Barrister Ike.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. It has become the reality of Nigeria that our elections or election cycle in Nigeria is not complete without the intervention of the judiciary, without the intervention of our courts, because most results in Nigeria are contested, and most often than not, including in the last presidential election, everybody is saying, hold your breath until the courts have had their say, until the matters have been taken to court and decided. And in this particular election that was held on the 25th of February 2023, the presidential election, more than at any other time, the contentions and the disputes, and the general dissatisfaction of Nigerians, and the world, the world leaders, the world governments, and different people, they are evident and apparent. And the president of the Court for Appeal, prior to this period, have inaugurated the Presidential Election Tribunal prior to the election. We had selected eminent jurists from the Court for Appeal who are going to be the court of first instance for the election. Nigerians, in particular, at this time, expect the judiciary to live above board. Those of us, I'm a lawyer, and you see most often than not, people, we say that where two people are contesting before the courts, each of them, the two contending parties, know the truth. So they are not the ones on trial. It is the judge who is presiding over the matter that is on trial. It's the judge who is now turning between the two, who will use both his legal knowledge, his experience, and the provisions of the law to arrive at the justice of the matter. In this particular election, most Nigerians believe that they have been shortchanged. Most voters believe they have been shortchanged. And at no other time than now should the judiciary be seen as the last hope of the people. So the Nigerians, from all walks of life, from the north to the east, from the west to the south, are looking up to the judiciary. They are looking up to the Presidential Election Tribunal that is sitting in Abuja. Of course, they are also looking up to the Supreme Court, because at the end of the day, whichever way their decisions go, we go to the Supreme Court. We expect, lawyers expect, the civil society in Nigeria expect, the generality of the Nigerian public expect that, one, the judiciary, particularly that tribunal, should not go the way of technical justice, should go the way of undue splitting of technical hair, injustice that will cause further problems in the society. Because at the end of the day, what is going on in Nigeria? Nigeria is the largest black democracy in the world. Nigeria is the largest democracy in Africa. And it is seen that whatever happens to Nigeria will affect the whole of Africa. Whatever happens to Nigeria will affect the whole of the black world. So Nigeria is not just any other country. So the justices of the Election Tribunal and the justices of the Supreme Court, and including even the array of senior lawyers that have been amassed by the different parties, should see it as an opportunity to salvage the image of Nigeria, salvage the economy of Nigeria, salvage the future of Nigeria, restore credibility to Nigeria in the eyes of the international community. So what is being decided is not just issue of who should be the winner, who should gather his friends to celebrate, who should take the pie, who should be in charge. But they should look at it as this is one single opportunity to save Nigeria. The pulse of Nigeria so far is such that if things are not properly handled, if there's no manifest demonstration of the doing of justice in this election, anything could happen. Nigeria is at a precipice. It's interesting that even the major actors, both those who are been officially declared as winners and those who are declared as losers, there is a unanimity in coming to the conclusion that the election has issues, depending on who is talking. But to most Nigerians, the election wasn't only an election that had issues. It was the most flawed election in the recent history of Nigeria. So it places a higher responsibility on the judiciary, on the justices of the Court for Appeal that will be sitting on the tribunal, on the Supreme Court, which is the final court of the land, to see to it not only that the Electoral Act 2022 and the Inec guidelines for this election that was published in April 2022, which regulated this election, not only that they are complied with, but also that justice is done to every legitimate claim of voter fraud, of voter suppression, of manipulation, of intimidation, and where it is proven successfully that the election was flawed. Who says the first thing cannot happen, or we should not experience the first time where an election will be cancelled, or where there will be a reversal, because many commentators have said that, well, going by precedent in law, we talk about precedent, going by precedent before, from 1979 election, which was the most recent, which was the first that was contested, to the ones that started from 1999, that no tribunal has set aside the election that was carried out. That the closest we have come to was the election of late President Yaradua and I think the current president, where the to three. That's the closest we have come to obtaining it. But those elections, the issues that arose in those elections can be described as child's play compared to the issues that arose in this election. And more so, we are faced with an election for the first time where the person declared the winner did not get the majority votes. Most Nigerians did not vote for the person who was declared the winner. So it cast a higher duty, a higher responsibility on those who are going to adjudicate, those who are going to preside over this matter, to look at it and see how to save Nigeria, restore credibility on our judiciary, on the election process in Nigeria. And that is the least Nigerians expect. And then coming to the election this Saturday on the 18th, I believe that this is an opportunity for Inec to redeem their image. There should not be any further story of maybe House of Assembly results being uploaded and transmitted and uploaded in the archive, and the governorship delayed. Because even in law, we say justice delayed is justice denied. And the more these results are delayed in being uploaded in the public portal, the more the society, the public believes that opportunity has been given for manipulation, for adulteration, for cancellation, for mutilation, and all kinds of electoral fraud. So to save Nigeria and save the society, this Saturday, INEC should redeem its image by ensuring that the votes of the people count, the votes of the electorate count, and count in a transparent way. Because we saw in the last election that most of the fraud and the electoral malpractices that were done at the point of collation, not at the point of voting. It was done at the point of collation from the ward level to the local government level and to the states. And most times, people accuse the scope, the state electoral, state collection officers and the electoral commissioners. Before the result gets to them, they have done the things, the fraud has already been done. That's why most of them will say, I didn't do anything. And probably maybe so. They didn't do anything. But the evil had already been done. So this time, the Inec, to save the day and wash their hands clean before Nigerians, the results of this governorship election, from the state assemblies results to the governorship in the different states, they should be uploaded real time as the guideline made pursuant to section 64(2) of the Electoral Act. It should be done that way. That's the only way Nigerians will have confidence that INEC have done their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We have heard all that has been said in here today, and I think the crux of the matter is the fact that we're asking that the right thing is done with this election process, especially the one that is coming up on Saturday. The right thing should be done. INEC, please do right by the people and make sure that the votes of the people count. All right, now we'll be taking questions. You do? Okay.
Hello, my name is Sylvester from Tribunal. I just want to ask, as lawyers, do you really believe in the appeal judges and the Supreme Court judges? That because many Nigerians, like 80% of Nigerians, don't believe in getting justice from our judiciary. Most people have lost hope in the judiciary. As lawyers, do you feel like Nigeria should still have hope on these justices and of the Supreme Court and the Appeal Court? And secondly, you have said that the elections are not accepted the result because of, and most Nigerians know this, that the elections there's also a lot of irregularities during the elections. What is the thing that you can tell Nigerians now that you should look forward to? Because there's a lot of things that went wrong. What are those things that Nigerians should look forward to in Saturday elections so that they can able to, so that they'll not be caught on our like what happened on the 25th of February? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. The reality of the situation is that, the only channel that is available to Nigerians as provided in the laws of the land for adjudication in election matter is still the judiciary, is still the tribunal. Granted that maybe by certain pronouncements of our judiciary in the recent time has cast a lot of doubt in the minds of Nigerians as to the the sincerity or commitment of the judiciary to do justice without fear or favor. But I want to say to Nigerians that Nigeria still commands an array of honest, dedicated, hardworking, and intelligent jurists. And this election, this cycle of election, the President of the Court of Appeal has set up the panel, the election tribunal panel, made up of the best brains we have in the judiciary. And of course, the Supreme Court is there. I say to people, the justices of the Supreme Court, as well as those of the election tribunal, of the presidential election tribunal, they are Nigerians. They also visit social media. They know what the pulse is. I am trusting, I am believing, and for a good reason too, that they will do the right thing. They know what is at stake. This is not like any other decision or any other election where maybe one of a candidate or somebody is coming to seek for something. They understand that the Nigeria is at a tipping point, and I believe that they will render justice according to the evidence that we brought before them and the provisions of the law. So I want to assure Nigerians that without any doubt, they should trust that justice will be done.
Thank you so much, Ba, for that beautiful reply that we have there. And hopefully we'll get justice this time around. And we have all heard all that has been said, and we've put our request forward to the stakeholders in charge. And we hope that they will do right by the people. Thank you, everyone, the pressmen present. Thank you, everyone, those in the audience, and to the barristers that we have on seat. Thank you so much. And then to our country manager, thank you so much for being here with us.
That was a live press conference organized by Equity International Initiative in collaboration with coalitions of civil society organizations on the Presidential Election Tribunal and X-raying Inec's readiness for the conduct of credible governorship elections this Saturday.